Hello everyone, welcome to Ambeon Insights. I'm Dilusha Gamage. In Sri Lanka, construction sector is in a critical junction. When the country is moving towards recovery, resilient and the economic growth, construction sector plays a pivotal role, not only in the infrastructure, but also the employment, innovation and sustainable economic growth. Behind every structure that transforms a skyline, there is leadership. And today, we are going to have a discussion with one such leader who is leading a construction sector company which is standing in the center of the construction ecosystem in Sri Lanka. And the company I'm referring to is INSEE Sri Lanka. And to have a discussion with us, we have with us today Mr. Thusith Gunawarnasuriya, the Chief Executive Officer of INSEE Sri Lanka. Thusith, welcome to Ambeon Insights.
Good morning, Dilusha. Thank you very much.
Thusith, to start off, let's share a little bit about your professional career and how you started, and all throughout were you in the construction sector, or let's go through a little bit about your professional career.
I started my career as an engineer.
Okay.
So my core was projects. So when I got involved in different projects, I got the opportunity to work with different people coming from different functions and also in a couple of different geographies.
Okay.
So that really opened up my thoughts about the construction industry, about the cement industry. So I joined the cement industry in 2004, 2 decades ago, when it was wholesale.
Okay.
And since then, I've been able to hold different positions in different functions within the cement industry, and as well as a couple of times I was in different industries, in different geographies, which really gave me the insights about people, about leadership to be in this position today.
So you are in more than 2 decades in the industry,
Yes.
construction industry. Okay. And when it comes to INSEE, when you first assumed duties with INSEE, what were the key challenges like at the beginning, the initial stages?
Initial stages, when I was an engineer, it was more technical challenges that we had because we inherited a plant from the cement corporation, Putlum
Okay.
Cement, and also Hono Cement, and it was about upgrading those plants into world standards. Then, if we relate to my recent journey as the leader of this organization, I took over the leadership at a time when construction industry was rebounding from the 2022 economic crisis that the country faced and all the citizens faced. So construction is linked to the macroeconomic conditions of a country. So I took the challenge of leadership at a time when we are still coming back as an industry.
So that was your biggest challenge. I think you you assumed the leadership in a very challenging time.
That's right. Yeah. So we are getting back and we see good growth, but still it's bouncing back from the impact it had in 2023.
Okay. So, does it know in that case, how do you see the cement industry is evolving in Sri Lanka? Like, we have been facing many challenges in the past couple of years and even before. So, how do you see this evolvement in the industry?
So the Sri Lankan cement industry has gone through multiple phases. It started as a government corporation.
Okay.
In 1969, the Ruhunu Cement and then Putlam Cement and then KKS or Kankasanturi Cement plant as well. They belong to the cement corporation. Then early 90s, it began to privatize. So with privatization came the global giants like Holcim, Lafarge, L&T. So they took positions in Sri Lanka by acquiring these government assets. And then Holcim, which is a global giant at that time, the biggest industry player, they took over the Putlam Cement Corporation and Rohana Cement Corporation. And since then, they have been doing a lot of capacity enhancement in Sri Lanka. And in 2015, globally they merged with Lafarge, which is the second biggest. So the two
Second
largest
biggest in terms of the world capacity?
cement capacity and the supply. So when these two global giants merged, 1 year after that, they decided to divest the Southeast Asian markets.
Mhm.
So then Siam City, Thailand, was going to acquire Sri Lanka,
Mhm.
Vietnam, Bangladesh, and few of these entities.
Mhm.
So that is how, after almost 30 years of Holcim, we became INSEE in 2016. For the last decades, it has been INSEE, which is Siam City Cement.
Okay. So now it is owned by a Thailand-based company.
We are fully
Siam
owned
City.
by Siam City Group in Thailand.
Okay. And now you were talking about the challenging time that you took over. So if I may ask you, Sid, now in the last 1 hour to 1 year to 1.5 years, in that time period, what were the demand for cement was like? How did you see that change happening?
So if you look at the last 2 years,
Mhm.
it has still been recovering. The
Okay.
construction industry has still been recovering from the post 2022 economic
Mhm.
crisis that country faced. So at the peak in 2021, the Sri Lankan cement industry stood at 7 million tons demand within that year. Then after 2022, in 2023, it crashed to half of that, to 3.5 million tons.
50% drop.
50% drop in cement demand, which is very difficult for any industry to bear. But since that, we have been coming back. So 2024 was about 4.5 million tons, and 2025, the full year that we just completed, we were at 5.1 million tons as the country, the annual demand. So we are slowly coming back. So that's 20% year-on-year growth in 2024, 15% in 2025. So last 2 years has been tough, but a good recovery period where we are coming back as an industry.
But we still have not come to the stage where before 2022, like 7 billion tons capacity.
We are still not there,
Not.
Dilusha. We expect it will take about another 1.5 years to 2 years for us to reach the 2021 level of 7 million tons per annum.
Okay. And to sit in that same note, what would be your forecast for the next, let's say, 2 to 5 years? The demand would look like. How do you see the industry is evolving?
So the cement industry demand is linked mostly to GDP and
Okay.
population growth. So while there's not significant population growth in Sri Lanka, the GDP growth is very positive. If you look at the last year, we averaged around 4.5 to 5%. And when you look at the forecast for next couple of years, given by the central bank and different agencies, we are looking at around 5 to 6% GDP growth. So as a multiplier, we are about 1.2 to 1.3 times when it look at the cement demand growth versus GDP. That is the historical average growth rate that we are looking at. So we are looking at a couple of good years for cement. We still feel that because of the DITWA impact and some short-term uh, challenges that we had, 2026 will also be around 15%, but towards the latter years within this 5 year period, we really expect the growth to exponentially grow. We expect exponential growth in this particular couple of years because now we see some FDIs coming into the country. Now, recently there was news about 4 FDIs to the port city, and we expect the infrastructure development to come back because government has now reallocated the funds which were limited during the crisis years. And still, 80% of the Sri Lankan market are the individual house builders. So we see with the interest rates becoming reasonable, that this residential demand is also coming through. So we are looking at a period where we see residential demand, where we see some infrastructure demand coming back. We see FDI, some new large projects coming back, and we also see some small and medium development projects like construction in housing schemes, in condominiums coming back. So we see all these segments coming together, which we see as a very positive sign for the cement industry for the next couple of years.
And that's it now. When it comes to like a product portfolio, how would you categorize? Where do your highest demand is coming from? Is it local households or the big construction projects?
So when you look at the segments in Sri Lanka for where the cement demand is generated, 80% is still retail. When I say retail, it's the bag, 50 kg bag demand.
Okay.
About 20% is the bulk demand, or what we call the industrial demand, which goes into the port city, which goes into ready mix concrete, which goes into FDI projects, large scale projects. So still the demand is mostly coming from the retail segment, the bag segment. And within the bag segment, it's also coming from the individual house builders, the individuals who construct their households or small medium businesses. So that is the growth driver. But next couple of years, we see a little bit of skew towards infrastructure and large scale projects, where I expect the 80% probably to go down to about 70% and the industrial demand to increase faster than the domestic demand.
Okay, wonderful. And this is now, INSEE is one of the most recognized brands in Sri Lanka, Sanstha Cement. Is that right? Okay, so how would you describe the INSEE's positioning in Sri Lanka, the brand positioning? Where do you stand?
Yeah. So Sanstha, which is our number one brand, actually comes from the corporation time. So that's
Cement
this
Corporation.
cement corporation time. So that is how the word Sanstha became a brand. But when we look at the current brands within the cement industry, Sanstha has the highest equity as a brand, and it's a very much trusted brand in Sri Lanka with a lot of local heritage. So that's the brand that we've developed over time, and we have been a very sustainable brand. We have brought in some new concepts under the brand Sanstha, and recently we were recognized for that as well. So clearly, in Sri Lanka, Sanstha is the number one cement brand from a trust perspective and from the local heritage, and we do everything possible to maintain that status.
Okay. And under the Sanstha brand, and what kind of product portfolio you have? Can you tell me, like, in manufacturing capacity wise, what kind of a portfolio that you have in different segment? What is the capacity is like?
So currently, if you look at the product portfolio, Sri Lanka has three different types of cement: OPC or ordinary Portland cement, PPC, Portland composite cement, and BHC, blended hydraulic cement. So we have products which cater to all of these segments. Clearly, we support the environmental sustainability agenda within the organization as well. So we were the very first company to come up with the EPD declaration, or the Environment Product Declaration, for these brands. And when you look at our capacities, our footprint, we have a fully integrated in a plant in Puttlam. So Puttlam Cement Works is the only fully integrated cement plant in Sri Lanka where you have the quarry operation, where we extract the limestone, the basic ingredient for cement, and we have a kiln in Puttlam cement plant where we convert the limestone into clinker and then the grinding into cement. And then in Gaul, we have two grinding plants, Ruhuna Cement Works and Gaul Cement Works. And in the Colombo port, we have the Mahaveli Marine Cement Import Terminal. So these are our four main assets. In cement capacity wise, we are right now at 3.5 million tons.
As a percentage of the total capacity?
So Sri Lanka right now has a grinding capacity slightly over 9 million tons. Right. And it has further bulk importation capacity with the terminals of about another 3.5 million tons. So we hold about 30% of the capacity within Sri Lanka.
Right. Wonderful. And how do you perceive the current competitive environment when it comes to cement industry? Now we are seeing a lot of new producers coming into the market, and there's foreign imports. So how do you see the competition?
The current market is very competitive, Dirisha. The reason is when the demand suddenly contracted, people had already invested in capacity. So the capacity utilization as an industry, cement industry, dropped to almost 35%. So everyone is trying to get volume to ensure that the plants are continuing to run. So because of that, pricing is very competitive, and like you mentioned, in 2023, we had two new cement manufacturers entering the Sri Lankan market with significant capacity additions to the industry. So, because of that, right now, the market is very competitive, price sensitive. Prices have come down from 2023 level almost 35%.
Okay.
So, competition is very tough right now.
But that price coming down, is it still you have some considerable margins?
We do have good margins as a business because what happened and why the prices skyrocketed in 2023, it was linked to the rupee devaluation as well.
Okay.
Because while we have local manufacturing capacity in Putlam, our grinding plants and also the other competitive grinding plants depend on importation of raw materials like clinkers, like other additives. So it is directly linked to the rupee and the rupee devaluation. And the energy prices went up, the coal prices went up, the global shipping rates went up, the freight related to that. So with that, cement prices went up. Now it has come and normalized, but margins still remain healthy and positive.
Okay. And now you are talking about the competition. So in that kind of a competitive environment, what differentiates INSEE? What is your competitive advantage?
So clearly, the brand and the trust that we have on the brand is one differentiator, which is backed by very good product quality and reliability as a local manufacturer. So we have the entire cement manufacturing process locally in Putlam, where we are not dependent on certain imports. So that is number one. Then secondly, the technical solutions that we provide through our I2I or industry collaboration center that we have in Paliaguda, where we get people from the industry, from the academics, and we develop innovative solutions, which has been giving us the ability to give some new products to the market.
So in Paliaguda, you have something like a R&D center?
It's actually an R&D center, a new research and development center. We call it I2I,
Okay.
innovation to industry.
Right.
So that facility enables people to collaborate, use our technical expertise coming from Holcim, coming from the INSEE group, so the local industries can develop. So that is why we have been able to deliver some customized innovative products to especially the B2B segments like the port city.
So you have that foreign expertise and some developed countries, the expertise coming and helping your product development.
Yeah, actually it started with Holcim, where it was like where Holcim was operating in 110 different countries in the world. So we had exposure to a lot of different technical experts, and that still continues even with the INSEE group, being a more regional, smaller group.
A very strong parent company, I guess.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. And what is the biggest external risk that you see, Thusith, in the current market environment and when you look to the future?
So, from a global context, I think, Dilusha, climate risk remains to be the highest risk that we face. Even Cyclone Ditwa, the damage that it caused, I think that's going to be a common occurrence in different places in the world where you see extreme weather. So that will have an industry impact for construction and cement as well, because while it will give an opportunity to maybe for the demand to grow, it will definitely disrupt the supply chain and the businesses. So for the demand to get created, the businesses have to run smoothly. So if you look at Ditwa, a lot of small and medium businesses got disrupted. So whether the climate risk has that impact on any industry. Secondly, the macroeconomic stability of the country is very important. I think now we are entering a stable growth phase. So that has to continue. Thirdly, cement and construction, a significant part of our cost base is related to energy. So we are doing a lot of work to mitigate that, where we are bringing in renewable energy, for example. We are bringing in alternative fuels to substitute traditional fuels.
Are you
Fossil
already
fuels.
started that?
We have already started that. Right now, we are at around 45% usage of alternative fuels replacing coal and other thermal fuels, fossil fuels. So we have made significant progress with that. But still, energy in crude oil, because cement needs to be transported island wide, then coal prices, where we still use about 50% for that. Electricity prices, even at a country level. So that is a significant risk that we see with certain global powers, and the actions that they take would have repercussions for us, because we are dependent on crude oil and energy sector mostly being driven by imports into this country. So I think these three are the biggest risks: the climate risk related incidents, the macroeconomic stability that we need, and thirdly, the energy sector and the impacts from global events.
Okay. And how about the raw material? Thusith? Do you see any changes into the supply of raw materials and how you source it? Any challenges that you see?
We do not see a significant risk related to the raw material supply chain.
Okay.
Like I mentioned, so Putlam, we have all the raw materials that we need in the Aruak Kalu quarry, other than coal, which we are importing as a thermal fuel. So that supply chain is very secure. Gall plant and even other organizations, they import. Right now, we do not see a supply risk. There are different global dynamics in supply and demand of these raw materials, with especially with Middle East. There's a construction boom, so some of the materials usually imported from, example, Pakistan, they are now focusing more towards Middle East and some of the European countries. So the impact that we could have is some price volatility.
Okay.
But supply security wise, we do not see that as a main risk.
Okay. And last but not least, what keeps you most optimistic about the cement industry and when it comes to INSEE?
So I think Sri Lanka has a wonderful opportunity to grow. We have had multiple challenges. If you look at even the last 5 years, different challenges within the country, and also things like the COVID pandemic, which impacted our economy. But I think right now we are poised with a very stable economic situation. So if that can be continued, I think we are entering a very good growth phase. So I'm very optimistic that the country will continue to grow with what we are seeing, and it will have a very positive impact on the construction industry and cement plus all the other related industries within construction, because construction industry contributes about 10% to the GDP. It's about 8 to 10% of the GDP. So when the GDP growth, construction industry will definitely grow. And when concerned industry does well, the infrastructure and other facilities improve, which generate other businesses.
Even employment,
Other, for example, now if you can reduce the time of transport of vegetables and fresh fruit, the damages will be less, which will help the consumer prices. So it has a multiple ripple effects on other segments, other sectors, when the construction industry and the infrastructure development is happening. So I'm very positive about the industry.
That's very good to hear. And Thusith, what would be your dream or your vision for INSEE to become under your leadership?
So we want to continue to be the leader in the cement industry in Sri Lanka. We want to make it more sustainable, more environmental friendly, because we use a lot of natural resources as an industry. We want to build a country which is built with sustainable, environmental friendly cement products. Because when we look at the cement that we have sold, 1/3 of the households in Sri Lanka is built with Thusith. So
You're very proud about that.
I'm very proud of that. So I want to continue that journey to grow, and also to be a more environmental friendly construction organization, which also helps our people to grow. So we have given a lot of opportunities for our people, the talent development, sending them into global roles within the group, different organizations. So we want to create an organization where people can really grow and contribute to the development of this country.
That is your vision.
Yes, that is my vision.
Wonderful. And Thusith, we congratulate you and we wish you all the very best for you to lead this company to become sustainable, growth-oriented company in the future under your leadership. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
for
much,
joining
Dilusha.
with us. Thank you for watching Ambeon Insights. We will be back soon with another exciting episode.